before the actual A block, as it always remained to me, went up, it was farmland all the way around. And if you look where you go around the college, you will see it's still quite a lot of green grass and farmland. It was a place called Chaplash Farm. It was compulsory purchased by the local authority because it was felt this was the best place to build the Wolverhampton College.
I'd remembered the building as a child being built because I only lived just down the road in Whitmarines, you see, so we lived in Sweetman Street. And my memories are of it being a farm because my mum would come down to this part of the town to buy some eggs. Not actually from this farm, but one off the Paget Road. So the road, Paget Road, didn't go through to Compton Road. It just stopped and there was a farm.
It was basically fields, just a cottage farm. The farm was on the other side of the road. And it was just fields and, you know, walks, just living locally. My wife and myself do a lot of walking. So we used to walk, you know, along the canal and across the fields and that. I remember it being built.
Necessity said that college needed to be built, and that's where it was built, in a good part of the town as well, because it was felt this was the best place to build the Wolverhampton College. The girls' high school was just to the right of it, and the university had appropriated land further down. So I have a feeling that they were looking at it as an educational complex, perhaps bigger than it was actually made or manufactured and things. But the university is still down behind the college, and we've now got St Edmunds and St Peter's schools, so it still is quite an educational complex.
My first impressions of this building, and not what other people might think of, like the concrete structure from the 60s, because I don't think I actually had an initial impression of the building itself. It was just that it was so big, and would I get lost in here? It's changed quite a lot, but I remember it being a friendly place, and that hasn't changed. And there is something about this building that's warm and inviting, and I think it's the people. And so I never really had an impression of the building. The people that worked here gave me the impression, and it's still the same.
Oh, I mean, I think it was fabulous. You know, it was a modern building, and you know, it was just very futuristic. It's strange to think of it now, because to be frank, it's not that beautiful a building, is it? I mean, it's fairly shabby now, and it's a shame that it hasn't been, you know, replaced or renewed. It looks like a typical kind of poor 1960s building. But if you go back to 1962 and 3 when it was being built, it was quite nice. You know, everybody thought this is going to be a good education establishment.
The building was quite nice and clean. I live locally, so I saw it being built, and it was about a third of the size it is now, just the main block as you came through. And I had the privilege, if that's what you want to call it, of taking one of the first classes.
I got off the bus, walked down Paget Road, and there were a lot of students all along, milling around, talking with people and coming into the college. I noticed on the college gates there was a heraldic symbol, which was like a shield, and being quite interested in history all along, I looked at that, and if you go outside, it is still there. So that is quite interesting in a sense. As I came through the gates, I thought, what a large building. And it was 4 stories. It was a single building on its own then, set in beautiful surroundings, very few houses. And as I walked into the front, there was someone there to greet you, which was really quite pleasant, because although I was 20, it was quite different to walk in as a student. And then we all went into the hall that was then, and we were dissipated to the different classes we belonged to with our course tutor that was then. He actually came and collected us, and we went to our various classrooms to have our timetables and things like that we were given.
Well, when I first came to the college as a student, I'd previously been to Bilston Girls High School, and that was my only experience of education other than my junior school, which was Ettingshall Junior. And it seemed huge because there's the 2 blocks, there's the 4 stories. At my other school, Bilston Girls High, there were only 2 stories, no lifts. And so it seemed huge, and it just looked like every other college that I'd ever seen in pictures, or every other public building, all seemed to be of a similar design. One of my classes used to be on the 4th floor in A block, and I was just amazed at the views that you get from the top floor across the city and over to Compton and Finchfield and those different places.
The facilities have seen so many changes here, so many changes. I remember when there was a kind of big staff room for all the staff. I think there's a kind of small room for the staff now, but there was this enormous staff room. So when there was a break between lessons, you'd go down there and, you know, there'd be a trolley brought in by a woman, and she would sell you cups of tea, and everybody would exchange stories about students that they'd taught and that kind of thing. It was a very much more, it seemed to me, laid back and relaxed sort of atmosphere.
I do remember going into the staff room for the first time, which was a huge room. Everybody used to meet there, and it was blue with smoke. And the ladies from the canteen would be there at break time, because we had fairly set break times then, and they would be selling us hot sausage rolls, toast, cups of tea, cups of coffee. So we were very pampered in a way compared to nowadays, which is much more democratised in so much as we all go and queue up with the canteen all together in one long line. There's no separation of anything, because at that time as well, the staff used to have a little segregated part in the dining hall. The dining hall hasn't changed very much from what it is now. When I first arrived, the reception was at the far end of a very long, thin, narrow corridor, and it used to get very congested, and it seemed to be out of the way. And the staff room was also on the ground floor. So I remember it just being a bit of a labyrinth. That's probably the best way of saying it.